The recent water shortages in Joburg have brought the spotlight back onto the country's permanent water crisis. Environmental group WaterCAN says water quality is a critical issue that affects the well-being of communities nationwide. The organization launched Water Testing Week, which is intended to empower citizens to become stewards of their local water sources. For more on this now, we're joined by Dr. Ferrial Adam from WaterCAN, and she joins us virtually from here in Johannesburg. Ferrial, not to make light of this crisis affecting so many communities, but you launch your Water Testing Week in a time where so many people in Gauteng didn't even have water, let alone enough water to check if the quality is good enough. How difficult is it to bring this message across about us having to focus on the quality of our water and not just that we have water to begin with?
No, I think you're raising a very good point. In fact, that is one of the things that has come up in our week of testing. Remember that we're testing not only in Gauteng, but across the country. So it's, we're also finding other parts of the country where, yes, we have to test the quality of water because people are drinking polluted water. And when I say polluted, we're finding that lots of people have water that has E. coli and bacteria in it. So I think testing and quality of water goes hand in hand with the quantity of water. You can't divorce the two. As the reservoir levels get lower, you could have more bacteria in those reservoirs. But I think, yes, we are finding that the quantity of water and access to water is becoming a big challenge. I was just listening to your previous insert of the average amount of water people use. I think those statistics need to be unpacked because when you say that we are higher than the world average, you need to also say, when you calculate usage, are you including industry? Are you including the mining? Are you including agriculture? Because then that's a skewed amount of the average that you're getting. In addition, this whole thing of blaming the consumers for the increase in demand, for me, is unacceptable. I think that the water losses and the lack of maintenance on our infrastructure lays squarely on our water boards and our water utilities that have not done enough in the last 10 years.
You make a very good, important point there, and it's something that we've heard from various water experts this last week, that you cannot just take the population and the amount of water leaving the reservoirs and divide the one by the other and say this is how much water that we're using. Because we also know a large amount of the water is being lost in the system through leaking and other issues as a result of the lack of maintenance.
Absolutely. The municipality in Mfuleni loses 71% of the clean water. So you pay to get clean water, to clean the water, 71% of that water is lost.
And those numbers are quite telling. But I want to know from you whether you think that in as much as we've all become electricity experts now because of this crisis with our power situation over the last decade or so, do you think that this water crisis, the one positive might be that people are paying more attention to water coming out of the taps and the quality of the water as well? Is that a positive we can take from the situation? Perhaps what are you hearing in terms of your teams on the ground, perhaps trying to do more education about water quality?
Absolutely. I mean, if we just look at our water quality testing week, last year we had 80 volunteers across South Africa who tested water for us. This year, we've got 700 people across South Africa, from big cities, small towns. I mean, as far as Port Nolloth, that people are testing water, and we've provided the testing kits. And, so they get the testing kits, and they're very eager. They're very aware. And I think it is because of what has been happening in South Africa with our water that we're getting more people involved. More people are interested. But we have to keep building that. We don't want people to just test for this week. And as WaterCAN, we're saying that testing is the starting point. We need to keep monitoring water and hold both government and industry accountable when that water is not good.
As with many things in South Africa, we cannot look at a problem and come up with a solution, one solution, because of the vast inequalities that we deal with. This water crisis in Gauteng has obviously received a lot of attention, mainly because it's in an urban area. But these are the kinds of issues that many South Africans in our rural areas have been dealing with for a very, very long time. What do you hear from your teams working in those rural areas about the problem around water quality that they are able to have access to?
So I think it links directly to governments. Government says that I think it's about 85% of people have access to water. And it's about unpacking that access because it's not a reality. 46% of South Africans have a tap in their homes. The rest are either dependent on communal taps, and about 9 to 10% of South Africa's population is dependent on our rivers and streams for drinking water. Now, if you link that to the quality of our rivers and streams, then you can see that people are basically getting polluted water. And I mean, in terms of sewage, sewage is the indicator of other kind of pathogens, but also it's an indicator that our wastewater treatment works across the country are just not functioning. So you'll get chemical waste, pharmaceutical waste, also in those rivers and streams. So people it's not only people in rural areas, but in smaller towns are dependent on rivers and streams for their basic water supply. And that, if you look at the map of South Africa, is completely polluted. I'm almost certain that most of our rivers and streams have sewage in it.
Gosh, Dr. Adam, people might be watching right now and thinking that they want to become advocates, if not just in their own home, perhaps in their street or in their community, in terms of testing the water quality coming through their taps, if they're privileged enough to have those. Where can they get information to educate themselves? Where can they access these kits that your teams have been providing? Tell us where they can get that information.
So there are many organizations and that are working around the country on water, but we specifically on the testing kit and advocating for people to get the change that they need to see. So you can go to our website, which is watercan.org.za. And if you're interested in testing, you can email us on info@watercan.org.za.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Dr. Ferrial Adam is from WaterCAN, the organization you can find on the internet there, watercan.org.za, if you just want to equip yourself with even more information about this very important issue affecting all of us on the day to day.